Hello, it's Friday, Erev Shabbos, Parshas Vayikra, and I'm going to record Shabbos Daf Chav Beis. Just to review for a moment a Dvar Torah from yesterday's Daf. Rav Huna had said that the oils and wicks that are invalid for Shabbos are invalid for Chanukah, ben b'chol, ben b'Shabbos. They were invalid b'chol because kavsa zokukla. The halacha is if it goes out, you have to relight it, and if you won't relight it, you're not yotze the mitzvah. And they're invalid for Shabbos because mutar l'shtamish l'oira. You're allowed to use the light of Ner Chanukah to read by. So I'm afraid shemayata. Tosfos asked, who says that Rav Huna held of both reasons? Maybe Rav Huna only held that kavsa zokukla, that if it goes out, you're obligated to relight it. And that's why you can't use inferior oils and wicks, because during the week you may not relight it, and on Shabbos you're not allowed to relight it, and therefore you won't be out to the mitzvah. And Tosfos says, practically speaking, that since Rav Huna said you're not allowed to use inferior oils and wicks, bein b'chol and bein b'Shabbos, he did not just make a blanket statement that you can't use it. So it sounds like weekdays and Shabbos is two different reasons. The weekday it's usher because kavsa zakukla, if it goes out you have to relight it, you might not. And on Shabbos there's an additional reason because of mutar l'shtamish l'oira, you're allowed to use the light, and therefore I'm afraid shemayata. The Brisker Rav said that it's important to have both reasons, because if the only reason is kavsa is zakukla, if it goes out you're obligated to relight it, then for that alone, if you had nothing better than an inferior oil, you'd still use it. We must remember that the Brisker Rav said that it's clear, he wasn't mechadish anything, it's an observation, that these inferior oils normally, most probably will last a half an hour. Because if most probably they won't last a half an hour, then for sure you're not yotze, because hadloka is a mitzvah. At the time of lighting, you must light in a way that it will and should last for half an hour. So these inferior oils will and should last for half an hour, but they're a bit vulnerable and they may go out. And therefore, if you hold kavsa zakukla, you shouldn't use them, because if they go out and you don't relight it, you won't be yotze the mitzvah. We should be concerned about that possibility. But having said that, what if you have no other oil? Then according to the Brisker Rav, there were like two stages in the Takana of Neres Chanukah. The first is the light Neres Chanukah, and the second was don't use stuff that's inferior because it might go out and you may not relight it. But if you have nothing better, then go use it. But now that on Shabbos we have another problem, that if you're allowed to use the light, you might come to tilt it, then on Shabbos you're not allowed to use it. The Rishash disagreed with the Brisker Rav, and the Rishash held that when the Chachmei Yisrael originally made up that you should light Neres Chanukah, they originally said not to use inferior oils because of kavsa zakukla. It's not like first they made halachah light Neres Chanukah, and later they suggested don't use inferior oils. So then, as the Brisker Rav said, during the week, if you have no choice, you'll use them. He says originally the law was to light Neres Chanukah with proper oil, and inferior oils don't use it altogether because kavsa zakukla. But even if you have no better, don't use it either. Okay, we're starting from Chaf Aleph Amud Beis at the bottom. Amar Rav Kahana. The last thing that we learned was that a Chanvani, a storekeeper, has the right to light his Neres Chanukah right outside the store. And the Gemara is not conclusive whether you must light it lower than 10 tefachim or can you light it higher. But in any case, he's allowed to light it less than 10 tefachim, because if we're going to bother him with too many details, he may not light it altogether. And if the camel driver with his flax gets caught on the flames, it's the camel owner's responsibility, because people will be lighting Neres Chanukah outside. Rav Kahana said, Dorish Rav Nosson Bar Menyumi Mishmeder Tanachem Ner Shel Chanukah Shenicha Lamala Michaf Amma, a Ner Chanukah that was placed more than 20 amas high off the ground, Psula, it's puzzle, Kisuka, like Schach, which is higher than 20 amas, which is also puzzle, Ukemavi, and like the beam that's placed across a mavi, if the beam is higher than 20 amas, it's also puzzle. Taisvis only asks, based on a Gemara in Sukkah and an Erevin, that whenever we're talking about a deraisa, like Sukkah, it uses the word psula. When we talk about a derabanan, the more proper expression is how to repair it. L'mashal kaira, a beam that's more than 20 amas high, you lower it. L'chayra, ner Chanukah, that's higher than 20 amas, we should have used a lotion of you might lower it. And Taisvis answers, because if you lit it l'mala me'aser mama, you can't merely lower it. Because since the halacha is hadlaka is a mitzvah, so if you lit it more than 20 amas high, the lighting is invalid, then you'll have to extinguish it, lower it, and relight it. So it's too long of a story, so they kept it short and just said psula. There's some cipher that says that the Gemara says in Megillah that if we said shira when we left Mitzrayim, me'avdus l'cheiros, a kal v'chaimer, we should say shira or read the Megillah when we were saved on Purim, mimavas l'chaim. L'chayr, not only Purim was Mavas L'chaim, even though Chanukah was a Gzeira against our Ruchnias, but we would have not given up on our Ruchnias, and Chas v'Shalom, we could have lost our lives. So even Chanukah is also considered Hatzalah mi Mavas L'chaim. And since the Kal V'chaimer is deraisa, that means that the celebration, the obligation to celebrate Purim or Chanukah, which is Hatzalah mi Mavas L'chaim, is really a Chiyuv deraisa. It's only that the Rabbanan established the means of celebration. The Rabbanan said to read the Megillah, to send Mishloach Manos and have a Mishnah, but those are the Rabbanandike expressions. But the Chiyuv to celebrate Purim would be the Raisa. And the Neres Chanukah also is a Rabbanandike expression. But the Chiyuv to celebrate Chanukah is the Raisa. Therefore, perhaps that's why it says here the word Psula, because the Rabbanan who gave the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah are merely giving expression to a Chiyuv deraisa. That's why it uses the word psula, which is normally used for a deraisa. Ba'amar Rav Kahana said, Dorish Rav Nosson Bar Menyumi Mishmed Rav Tanchem, Mai Dechsiv, why does it write, Va'bor Reik Ein B'mayim? By Yosef it says the bor was empty, Ein B'mayim, Mimash Meshanemar, I can hear when it says Va'bor Reik that it's empty, Ein Yadeh Shem B'mayim, and I know there's no water in it. Elamat Hamad Laimar, Ein B'mayim, Mayim Ein B'y, there's no mayim, but there were snakes and scorpions in it. So that's why it says mayim einboy. The question the Rishonim ask is, so then it wasn't reik. If it has nechoshim bakrabim, then it's not reik. Some have answered that the nechoshim bakrabim were in crevices and in cracks on the sides of the bor, but the bor itself was reik. But it adds einboy mayim just to hint that there were other things that were around in the vicinity of the bor. I don't remember who says it, but if there are Nechoshim Akrabim in there, so why would the brothers throw Yosef into it? The teretz is because they didn't see it, because it's more than 20 amas deep. So if it was more than 20 amas deep and you can't see down, that's why Ner Chanukah L'mala Mi'asr Amas is also possible, because people don't look beyond 20 amas. Amar Rabba Ner Chanukah mitzvah lanicha b'tefach hasmucha lepesach. Ner Chanukah, the mitzvah is to put it, a tefach, next to the doorway, on the outside of course, but a tefach next to the doorway. Where in the doorway do you put it? So Rav Acha Rav Amar miyamin. You should put it at the right side, because people more focus more on the right side. So the right side of the entrance. Rav Shmuel B'Difti Amar mismoil. You should put it on the left side of the entrance. The hilchos of the loch is mismoil on the left side of the entrance. Kedei shetei ner Chanukah mismoil mezuzah miyamin. So that you have the mezuzah on your right side and the ner Chanukah on your left. Just perhaps. The Rambam writes that if a person has a mezuzah on his door, that he should remember HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, as you go through the doorway. So, and the Ner Chanukah is to remind you of the Persumanis of the Nes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made. So maybe it's not a good idea to overload both things on the same side. Not just because of space, but just that here you have to concentrate on Shema Yisrael, and here you have to concentrate on the Persumanisa, on the Nes of Chanukah. So therefore you have on two sides, it's easier to concentrate on two things when they're in two different locations. Amar Rav Yudah, Amar Rav Asi. Rav Yudah said in the name of Rav Asi, Osir lahartzois mois keneged ner Chanukah. You're not allowed to count money keneged ner Chanukah. Ki Amrita lekame de Shmuel. When I, Rav Yudah, repeated this to Shmuel, Amar li, he said, why can't you count money neged ner Chanukah? V'chiner kedusha yeshba. Where's the kedusha in an Ner Chanukah. If something is Kodesh, then there's Me'ilah using something of Kodesh, but this has no Kedusha, so why can't you count money in front of it? That was Shmuel's kasha. So Maskef Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef responded in a kasha with a kasha. V'chidam kedusha yesh bai. When you do kisei adam, does the dam have kedusha? But nevertheless, the Tanya we learned in a brayse v'shafach, when you shecht a chaya or oif and the blood spills, v'chiso, and you should cover the blood of the chaya or oif with afor. V'mesh shafach yichasa. The same hand, the way you shechted and you made the blood run with your hand, you should cover the blood also with your hand, using earth from your hand. Shloi chasanu beregel, not to cover it with your leg. Shloi yehu mitzvahs bezuyas olav. That the mitzvah should not be a bezoyan. Don't do the mitzvah b'derech bezoyan by kicking earth. In Zochanami here also, Shloi yehu mitzvahs bezuyas olav. The reason you don't count mois keneged ner Chanukah is that you shouldn't be mevaza the mitzvah. There is a machlokes harishayim. The Balamor says that Rav Asi, who said you're not allowed to count money keneged ner Chanukah, is different than Rav, who said aser lehishtamish la'ira. When Rav said aser lehishtamish la'ira, he held it's aser to use it for any purpose, even for a mitzvah. You can't even learn or eat a Sudas Shabbos in front of Neres Chanukah. And the reason is because the Neres Chanukah he held were daimah to the Neres HaMikdash. And the Neres HaMikdash you weren't allowed to use for any other purpose because they really had Kedusha. So if it has Kedusha, you're not allowed to use it for anything at all. So there the Gemara didn't have a kasha. Why? Since he said Aser, blanket Aser, it's because it's daimah and Neres HaMikdash and you can't use it for anything. But when Rav Asi said you can't count money keneged ner Chanukah, evidently he doesn't hold that it's because of daimah and Neres HaMikdash, because he only asers lahartzes mois, only to count money. But he would allow you, let's say, to learn by Neres Chanukah. He would allow you to eat Sudas Shabbos. So in Cain, if it's not copying the kedusha of the Neres HaMikdash, then it's only a mitzvah. If it's only a mitzvah, why can't you count money in front of it? And therefore, we have to answer that even though it's only a mitzvah, it's not kedusha, but you're still not allowed to be mavaz a mitzvah. Again, for clarification, you understand there's a difference in kedusha and mitzvah. Tashmisha kedusha need geniza. Tashmisha mitzvah you can throw out, but you have to throw it out in a respectable manner. Mitzvahs also have to be respected, but they don't have kedusha. So Bishleim, according to Rav, who said before Aser l'shtamish la'ira, he said Aser. Why is it Aser l'shtamish keneged Neres Chanukah? Because he compares it to Neres HaMikdash, which have kedusha. Mishum kedusha, if it's daima, it doesn't have, but it's comparable. We're mimicking the Neres HaMikdash. So then you can't do anything in front of the Neres, and then I have no kashas. But if you say that you're not allowed to count money in front of it, but you will be allowed to do Dvarim Shal Mitzvah, so you're not comparing it to Neres HaMikdash. So then what's wrong with counting money? And the answer is because it's a bizoyin. Boim name Rabbi Shimon Levi. They asked Rabbi Shimon Levi, "Maulis topic minoi sukkah kol shiva." Are you allowed to use noi sukkah during the 7 days of Sukkot? Let's say to take an apple that you hung up as decoration, can you eat it? Amr lahem. So Rabbi Shimon Levi says, "Hari amru." It's said that Aser lahartzes mois neged ner Chanukah. If you're not allowed to count money keneged ner Chanukah, because that would be a bizoy mitzvah. So you're not allowed to use the noi sukkah either for personal use during Chol HaMoed, because that would be a bizoy mitzvah. Amr of Yosef, Sir Yosef says, Mori Davram, Rabbeinu Shalom, Toli Tanya B'Dloi Tanya. The question was, can you use Noi Sukkah? And you proved it from Ner Chanukah. But Noi Sukkah is actually a Braisa Mefureshes, and Ner Chanukah is a statement of Amiroim. Sukkah Tanya. The Isra of using Noi Sukkah is a Braisa Mefureshes. Chanukah Loi Tanya. But Chanukah is not a Braisa. Chanukah was just Rav Asi's statement. Because the Tanya will enter a brayso, sichacha kilchasa. If you put proper schach on your sukkah, beitra, and you decorated it bikromim with curtains or besadinim and sheets hamitzuyorim that are decorated, v'tolaba agoizim, and you hung walnuts, afarsikin or peaches or shkedim, almonds, remaining pomegranates, parchili anovim, clusters of grapes, atorah shel shibolim, crowns of stalks of grain. Yeina shmonim islosa is wine, oil, and flour. Osir l'stamik b'hem ad motzi on derachan shel chag. You're not allowed to use any of the noy sukkah until the end of Shmini Atzeres. Vim hisna leim, and if you made a condition, erev sukkah is before Ben Hashmoshes, that the noy sukkah that you're putting up, you should be able to use it if you wish, then your condition allows you to use it. So that's a brayso mefureshes that if you didn't make a condition, it's also. You don't have to prove anything from there is Chanukah. Elam Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef says, Avuhain dekulu dam. The father of all these halachas is dam. The same way that when it comes to kisei adam, you're not allowed to cover the dam with your leg, because you're not allowed to be mavazim mitzvah. The same way you're not allowed to count money keneged ner Chanukah, because you're not allowed to be mavazim mitzvah. And the same way you're not allowed to take any decorations from the sukkah to use it during Chol Hamoed, because you're not allowed to be mavazim mitzvah. So let's stop and pause and discuss a little bit. Taisus asks, first of all, the noy sukkah, the Gemara later says, is muktzah. So Taisus says, yeah, muktzah is on Shabbos v'yontif. During Chol Hamoed it's not muktzah. And the reason why you're not allowed to use the noy sukkah during Chol Hamoed is because it's a bizui mitzvah. Now to clarify a little bit better, we'll talk about this more a little bit later, but Shmuel, who said, why is it usher to count money neged ner Chanukah? L'chayra, the ner Chanukah doesn't have kedusha. Shmuel understood that you're not allowed to kick earth in order to be mechas adam. Because, if I may, I'd like to categorize three categories. Kisei adam is A, ner Chanukah is B, and noy sukkah is C. One more time. Kisei Adam is A, Ner Chanukah is B, and Noy Sukkah is C. Let me explain. Kisei Adam, you're doing the act of the mitzvah. When you're doing the act of the mitzvah, of course, you shouldn't do the act in a dishonorable way. You shouldn't kick earth in order to cover dam. That's not the way to do mitzvahs. But when it comes to Ner Chanukah, which is B, you already did the mitzvah when you lit it. Now, the light is just ongoing. But right now, the mitzvah was done. And furthermore, I'm not even handling the mitzvah itself. I'm using the light from the mitzvah. So therefore, Shmuel was not convinced that that is also called bizui mitzvah. Of course, bizui mitzvah is when you kick earth, when you do the mitzvah. But to use the light coming from the mitzvah, Shmuel says, what's the problem? But nevertheless, it's also l'hartzis mois, notwithstanding Shmuel's statement. Because we're going to go to C. In C, that's noy sukkah. Noy sukkah neither is the act of doing the mitzvah, nor is it the mitzvah. It's just decoration to the mitzvah. And since it's only decoration to the mitzvah, that's why you can make a condition before sukkahs that if I wish, during sukkahs I can use it, during Chol Hamoed. Right? You can't make a condition on Eretz Chanukah. But if noy sukkah, which is not even the act of the mitzvah, it's not even the chayfetz shel mitzvah, it's just a decoration to the mitzvah, it would be bizui mitzvah to use it during Chol Hamoed, then you can understand that the light of Neres Chanukah, which is the object with which the mitzvah was done, and now it's ongoing as it's burning, for sure you can't count money in front of it. So again, what I've done is, I've categorized them in three categories that everyone understood. It goes without saying that you can't kick earth in order to make the mitzvah of Kisei Adam. Shmuel was wondering, why would it be usher to count money in front of the Neres, when there you're not doing the mitzvah now, you're only using the light from the mitzvah. But in the end, even so far as Noy Sukkah, which isn't even the act of the mitzvah, it's not even the chayfetz shel mitzvah, it's just the decoration of the mitzvah, it's bizui mitzvah if you use it during Chol Hamoed. So now you can understand, says Rav Yosef and Ravasi, why it's usher to count money keneged ner Chanukah. Itmer, it was said, Rav Omar ein madliken miner l'ner. You can't light Neres Chanukah from one candle to the other, to be explained soon. And Shmuel Omar madliken, and Shmuel says you're allowed to. Rav Omar ein matir and tzitzis mi beged lebeged. Rav says you can't take tzitzis off one garment to put on another, because the garment that the tzitzis was on was also an object with which you did a mitzvah, and it's bizui to take the tzitzis off that garment, which was used for a mitzvah, and now put the tzitzis on another beged, because you're being mavaza the beged, which was an object which a mitzvah was done with it before, because it had tzitzis on the beged. Shmuel says you're allowed to. And Rav Amarav says, Ein halacha k'Rav Shimon b'greira. Rav says the halacha is not like Reb Shimon regarding dragging a bench, which we'll explain in a second. And Shmuel Amar halacha Reb Shimon begreirer. Shmuel says the halacha is like Reb Shimon regarding the halacha of dragging a bench. Amar Abai says Kol mili demar ovid karav. Usually my Rebbe Rabbah held like Rav. Levar manit las the ovid kishmuel. In these three cases he held like Shmuel. He held that you are madlikim in air l'ner, you can light from one air to the other. Umatirin mi beged lebeged, you can take tzitzit from one beged to the other. And v'halacha k'Reb Shimon begreirer. And my Rebbe Rabbah held like Shmuel that the halacha is like Reb Shimon regarding dragging a bench. What's the bench all about? The Tanya we learned in a brayso. Reb Shimon Omer. Reb Shimon says, "Goyer Adam, a person can drag on Shabbos a mita, a bed, a kisa, a chair, a safsel, or a bench across the ground." And we're not concerned that as he drags the bench, he may be causing a trench or a ridge in the like an indentation in the ground, which in a field would be considered chayrish plowing, and in a house would be considered baina, like building, because people sometimes had cavities in the floor of their house in order to put things into. As long as it's not your intention to make that cavity, and making that cavity is not inevitable, Reb Shimon holds dover she'ein mischav, and doing it unintentionally is mutter. And Shmuel paskins like Reb Shimon. So there was a dispute if you can light miner l'ner. Rav was machmer, Shmuel was mekel. There was a machlokes whether you can take tzitzis from beged A to put on beged B. Rav was machmer and Shmuel was mekel. There was a machlokes if you can drag a bench and if dover she'ein mischav is usher or mutter. Rav was machmer and Shmuel was mekel. So Yosef Ahumi Rabbanan Kameder of Ada bar Hava. One of the Rabbanan was sitting in front of Rav Ada bar Hava. The Yosef, he was sitting, the Kamar, saying, Tama de Rav, the reason why Rav was strict, Mishum Bizui Mitzvah. The reason he was strict is because you're being mavazah the mitzvah when you light a ner from a ner. Amar Luhu, so Rav Ada bar Hava said, Loy Tatzai Sulei, do not listen to this one of the Rabbanan. Tama de Rav, the reason why Rav prohibited it, Mishum de Kamakchish mitzvah, because you're weakening the mitzvah. Now this is subtle. Bizui mitzvah means it's a disgrace to the mitzvah using it for something else. Akchusha mitzvah means that it seems as if, when you light B from A, it seems as if you're diminishing A. Although in truth you're not diminishing A, but it looks like you're even diminishing it. Now, okay, so either it's a bizui of the mitzvah, or it looks like you're diminishing it. So the Gemara asks, my benai, where's the difference? Ikke benai, the difference would be the kamadlik mishraga l'shraga. If you're lighting directly candle B from candle A, without using an intermediary like a match. Man da'amar mishum bizui mitzvah, the one that says that it's a disgrace to the mitzvah, mishraga l'shraga madlik. It's not a disgrace if you're still doing the mitzvah by lighting candle B from A. You're not disgracing the mitzvah. But man da'amar mishum akchusha mitzvah. But the one that says that there's a perception that you're diminishing A, even mishraga l'shraga nami osir. Even if you're lighting B from A, but you shouldn't be diminishing A. And if there's a perception that you're diminishing A, it's prohibited. I just want to point out, this idea of diminishing A because you're lighting B, that's a subtlety. That's like a stretch. To say that the problem is because you're really diminishing A. You're not really diminishing A, but there's a perception that you're diminishing A. And that is harder to understand. But there's an opinion that's the machlokes. But it could be that everybody agrees that there's no diminishing of A when you light B from it. The only thing is it a bizui mitzvah? Well, a bizui mitzvah would only be if you light a match from A, because a match is not kodesh. But if you light candle B from A, then there's no bizui mitzvah. Again, akchusha mitzvah is a stretch. To say that you're actually diminishing A when you light something from it. You're not diminishing A, but there's a perception that maybe you are. So one could argue Rav prohibits it, and Shmuel says I'm not concerned about it. Or, nobody's considered about the diminution of A. You're not diminishing A at all. There's just a biza when you use A for something else. So what's the something else? If it's for a mitzvah, then there's no problem. If it's for a stick, then it would be asr. So, Mosiv Rav Avya asks a kasha. Sela shel maser sheni, if you have a coin which is kodesh because you had maser sheni deconsecrated onto this coin, and shoiklin connect din rezov, you're not allowed to put it on a scale and against it to weigh golden dinarim, to see whether the dinarim are whole, whether they're deficient or they're too much. Afilu l'chalav maser sheni acher. Even if your intent is that if I know that the gold dinarim are good, then I'm going to take other maser sheni and deconsecrate it on the gold dinarim. So you're not allowed to weigh gold dinarim to see if their weight is proper against a coin of maser sheni. So if you say it would be well understood, keep ligi Rav Shmuel miner liner. If Rav Shmuel argue from one candle to the other, because they're concerned about akhushe mitzvah, Rav is considered when you light B from A, you're diminishing A, or perception of diminishing A, and Shmuel is not concerned about the perception of diminishing A. Aval bekinsa, but to use a match to light from A, Aser Shmuel prohibits it, because everyone agrees that would be Bizer mitzvah, and you can't light a match from A. Then, Holei Havit Yufta, then there's no kasha. The same way you can't light a match from A, even though you're planning on lighting B with the match, the same way you can't weigh golden dinarim against a sela of maser sheni, even though you're planning to use the golden dinarim afterwards to be machal maser sheni. Ella iamrit bekinsa nami shori. But if you hold that no one agrees to the diminution of A, no one holds that when you light B from A, you're diminishing A. That's a non-starter. The machlokes is there even a bizui mitzvah when you light a stick from A? Rav prohibits it. If you light a stick from A, it's bizui mitzvah. And Shmuel says even lighting a stick from A is not a problem. You can light it because you intend to light B. So if you hold the Amrit Bekinsa Nami Shori, that Shmuel would allow you to light a match from A in order to light B, because he doesn't hold that Bizur Mitzvah, so Hatevit Yufta. So this is a kasha against Shmuel. How could Shmuel hold that you're allowed to light a match from A in order to light B? Then why can't you weigh Din Rezov against the cell of Maser Sheni if you intend to use it afterwards for Maser Sheni? Let me repeat again. We have a machlokes here, Amayroim, in explaining the machlokes of Rav Shmuel. One opinion is that their machlokes is very severe. Everybody holds that you can't light a match from A in order to light B, because that would be a bizui mitzvah. The machlokes goes so far as to whether you can light directly B from A, and Rav holds it's prohibited because you're diminishing the A, and Shmuel says that that's a stretch and that's not a problem. But everybody holds that lighting a match from A in order to light B is usher. So then I understand why it's also usher to weigh Din Rezov against the cell of Maser Sheni, even though you intend to use the Din Rezov afterwards for Maser Sheni. But if it's the other way, if everybody agrees that to light B from A is perfectly okay, because you're not diminishing A at all. The only machlokes is, can you even light a match from A in order to light B? Rav prohibits it because he holds that is considered bizur mitzvah, and Shmuel allows it. So if Shmuel allows you to light a match from A in order to light B, why does the Brisa say that you're not allowed to weigh Din Rezov against the cell of Maser Sheni in order to use the Din Rezov for Maser Sheni? And the Gemara answers, Amar Rabba Gzer Shem Alechav Mishkaloisav, V'kamapik Lu L'chulin. The answer is yes. Shmuel allows you to light a match from A in order to light B, and is not concerned about Bizur Mitzvah, because you're going to light the B. But here, if you're going to weigh the Din Rezov against the cell of Maser Sheni, what happens if the weight of the Din Rezov is too little or too much? Then you're not going to use them to be paid the Maser Sheni. So then you weighed Chulin for nothing. So you weighed Chulin against Mois Maser Sheni, and you absolutely did nothing. And that's why Shmuel would agree that it's Aser. Just want to point out something. I hope I'm not getting too confusing. The Balamor makes an interesting observation. There was a view that Rav and Shmuel argued regarding Akhusha mitzvah. The Rav and Shmuel argued whether you can light B from A, and Rav says you can't light B from A, and Shmuel says you could light B from A because you're not really diminishing A. But according to that view, Shmuel agreed that you can't light a match from A in order to light B. If they're arguing if you can light miner liner directly, that means Shmuel says you can light from ner liner directly because he doesn't agree with the concept of akhusha mitzvah, that you're weakening mitzvah A when you light B from it. But regarding lighting a match from A, even Shmuel agreed you're not allowed to. That was one view in the Gemara. Nevertheless, Shmuel held before that you were allowed to count money in front of Ner Chanukah. What's the difference? Because when you're lighting a match from the flame of A, you're actually using the object of mitzvah. But as I said before, when you're only counting money or reading something in front of the light of A, you're only using the light that comes from the mitzvah. And that's why Shmuel was surprised that that should be usher. Afterwards, Rav Yosef explained, look, if Noy Sukkah could be usher for Biza Mitzvah, then the light from Neres Chanukah could for sure be usher for Biza Mitzvah. When Shmuel asked his question, he felt, since you're only using the light, would that really be considered Biza Mitzvah? I agree, Shmuel may have held that lighting a match from the fire of Ner A would be considered Biza Mitzvah, because you're using the actual object of Mitzvah. Zog the Gemara, Moshe Rav Sheshes asked the Kasha, there's a pasuk in the Torah, Mechutz leParoichas ha'edus Yaroich, outside of the Paroichas, that's in the Oil Moyed, that's where you arrange the Neiros. The question is, why does Hashem need Or in the Oil Moyed? The 40 years the Jews were in the Midbar, they followed the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They had an Amud Eish Balayla, an Amud Anan Bayayim. Ella rather, it was Eidus Hilaboy Oilam Shashchina Shara B'Yisrael. The Or was not, the menorah was not to give Hashem light, it was just to testify that the Shechina is Shara B'Yisrael. My Eidus, how does the menorah testify the Shechina is Shara B'Yisrael? Amar Rav explains the Ner Maravi. There was one of the Neres of the menorahs called the Maravi, and again, if the Ner stood like this from north to south, then the Ner Maravi was the center one, which was tipped towards the west, towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim. If the menorah stood like this from east to west, the Ner Maravi was the second one. It's the first one from the Mizrach. This was the Ner Mizrachi, and the second one is the Ner Maravi, the first one towards Marav. In any case, this Ner Maravi, Shenoisen ba shemen kemidas chavreiseh. Every night you put in the same amount of oil as all the other Neres, a half a lug. And umimena haya madlik, it's from the Ner Maravi you light all the others. Uba haya misayim. At the end of the day, either in the morning or if there was Zaycha, Fila, when they came the following night, the Ner Maravi was still burning. As long as the Ner Maravi was burning, it was testimony that the Shechina is B'Yisrael. How does everybody know what's doing in the Oil Moed, what's doing in the Heichal? So there's a medrash that since the windows of the Heichal were shkufim atumim, narrow on the inside and wide on the outside, so the light from the menorah went out, and in Yerushalayim they could always see there's a light on Har Habayis. The Ner Maravi is burning. That was a sign that the Shechina is B'Yisrael. The question is, how did you light the other Neiros from the Ner Maravi? Halcha here, given the Kvi Neiros, since the Neiros are solid, so Loisagya the Lemishkal Vadluki, then you had to take a stick to light it from the Ner Maravi in order to light the others. So Kasha, there's a difficulty, Bein Lamanda Amar Mishum Bizu Mitzvah, whether Rav, who prohibited Bizu Mitzvah, so certainly if you hold of Bizu Mitzvah, it's a Bizu to take a stick that's not Kaidish and light it from the Ner Maravi. Or if you're weakening the mitzvah, so also when you light the stick from Ner A, from the Ner Maravi, you're weakening the mitzvah. So it should be prohibited. To Tirgmer of Papa said it's a good question. So he explained, but Psilos Aruchas, there were long wicks. So long wicks, the wick from B was lit from A. So he was, so they lit it from wick to wick. So I understand that there's no bizu mitzvah, because you're not being mevazah the mitzvah since you're lighting a mitzvah at the time that you're taking from A. But saif l'man de'omar mishum akhusha mitzvah kasha. But if we held the Rav prohibited even that far out pshat of akhusha mitzvah, that you're diminishing A, it's still difficult. Are you allowed to diminish A in order to light B? Kasha, that's a good kasha. So evidently this whole idea of akhusha mitzvah is a stretch. You're never diminishing A when you light B from A. The only thing is, there's an Isser of Bizu mitzvah. You're not allowed to use a intermediate thing to light from A, even though you intend to light B. My Havi Allah. So what's the bottom line? Can you light Miner Liner? So Amar of Hunabraid of Yeshua, he says, Chazina we see. Iad Loko is a mitzvah. If the mitzvah is the act of lighting, then Madlikim Miner Liner. Then you're allowed to light from one air to the other, because you're doing the act of the mitzvah of lighting B when you're lighting it from A. And so there's no bizu mitzvah. And akhusha mitzvah we don't agree with. V'anocha is a mitzvah, but if the mitzvah is that afterwards the menorah should be sitting lit, and the act of lighting only enables you to have a menorah which is lit, then emadlika menorah l'ner. Then you can't do the lighting of B from A, because the lighting is not the mitzvah. Just to illustrate the idea, there's a kshartam lois al yodecha. The shal yad, the mitzvah is the act of tying it on. And the shalrosh, it's the fact that it's there. Putting it on now allows it to be there. So sometimes it's the act is the mitzvah, and sometimes it's the outcome. So if by hadloka it's the act that's a mitzvah, then you're allowed to light minera l'ner, because the act that I'm doing now is a mitzvah, and I'm doing it from a mitzvah, and that's fine. But if the act is not a mitzvah, it's only a means to have the outcome, then you can't light minera l'ner. Because the boiler, we have a shaila, hadloka is a mitzvah, ayanocha is a mitzvah. Is the mitzvah the lighting, or is the mitzvah the outcome? The hanacha. Toshma, I'll bring you a proof. Dama Rava says, Hayatov is ner Chanukah v'ayim. Somebody's holding a ner Chanukah and standing there. Le'osav le'klum. It doesn't count. So, but he did hadloka. Why doesn't it count? So shmami no. Hanocha is a mitzvah. You actually have to put it down in order for it to be a mitzvah. No hasam. The problem there is haraya aimer letzarchu denakadla. Somebody who sees him holding it will say he's holding it for his own benefit. He's holding a torch for light. It doesn't look like Ner Chanukah when you're standing there like the Statue of Liberty. Toshim, I'll try another proof. Dama Rava says, Hadlika b'fnim, and Haitzia le'asav le'klum. If you lit it in the house, and then you took it and put it outside the door, it doesn't count. Yamrit b'shlem hadloka is a mitzvah. If you say that the mitzvah is lighting, hadloka b'mkaimai b'in, and you have to light it in the right place. You can't light it inside. El Yamrit hanocha is a mitzvah, amai le'asav le'klum. But if the mitzvah is the placing it, so I lit it inside, then I placed it in the right place. So placing counts, and that should be the mitzvah. Hasamnami there too, if somebody saw you lighting it inside and carrying it out, harayu aim, whoever sees will say, that he lit it for his own light, and that was in the house, and then he decided to take his candelabra out into the street. But nobody can understand that it's Neres Chanukah. You're missing Persum Nisa. So we'll continue Mi'at Hashem tomorrow night, but you know the outcome, that since you make a bracha lahadlik ner shel Chanukah, the mitzvah is the hadloka. And since the mitzvah is hadloka, you're allowed to light from one ner directly from the other. You're allowed to light B from A. Just a minute, I'll explain more. Because there is no concept of akhusha mitzvah, that doesn't exist. Because if there would be a concept of akhusha mitzvah, then in the Mikdash, you would not be able to light anything from the Ner Maravi, because you'd be makhish the Ner Maravi. So that doesn't exist. Akhusha mitzvah exists pas. It's a non-starter. The only issue is bizu mitzvah, and since hadloka is a mitzvah, so the act of lighting B from A is perfect. However, having said that, there is an issue. So the Rosh and the Ramban both rule that, of course, hadloka is a mitzvah, and you can light B from A, but of course you can only light B from A directly. But you can't use a kism, you can't use an intermediary, because that would be a bizu mitzvah. It's not, and everyone agrees that you're not allowed to be mavaz in the mitzvah, except they hold that when you're doing a mitzvah by lighting B from A, there's no bizu mitzvah. Akhusha mitzvah never existed, that forget about. And bizu mitzvah is not a bizu if hadloka is a mitzvah, but to light some intermediary, you're not allowed to. So in other words, we're actually paskening l'chayr like Rav, that aim adlikim miner liner, but aim adlikim miner liner through an intermediary. So the Magen Avram says that what happens if you have two menorahs and you lit both menorahs and one menorah went out, and the rule is kavsa, if it goes out, ein zakaklo, you don't have to relight it. So you're not allowed to take menorah B that went out to light it from menorah A. Because since menorah B is no longer a mitzvah, you're not allowed to light it from menorah A. The Ramah quotes a Mordechai that since really the real mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is only the first one, and afterwards it's only Hidur, you're not really allowed to light B from A. Because B is only Hidur, and you're not really doing a mitzvah when you're lighting B from A. That's the Mordechai's opinion. Others would argue, others would say that I'm doing the mitzvah behidur. So when I'm lighting 2, 3, or 4, depending on the night what it is, all of it is mitzvah, and you can therefore light 2 or 3 or 4 even from number 1, because it's all an act of mitzvah. But if you separate that the first one is mitzvah and the others are hidur, you could not light any neira shel hidur from the one of mitzvah. Another issue, which is, what happens if it's the third night of Chanukah, then you could light 3 from 2. Of course, directly. Why? Because they're both hidur. If both are hidur, they're on equal terms, and therefore you can light one from the other. Okay, I wish everyone a good Shabbos. We should hear B'suras Taivas. Kadosh Baruch Hu should protect everybody and their families and Klal Yisrael and everyone from this terrible situation. And we should be Zaycha that it should be over very soon, and we should be able to see each other again and learn together in person, seeing each other b'simcha and without chas v'shalom having suffered any losses or any tragedies. Shabbos, Imilizak, or Refuah Krayvalavai, all the Chaylim should have Refuah Shalema. The schus of Shmir Shabbos in such conditions should be a schus for everybody, for whatever they need. Kultiv. We'll speak again tomorrow night.